Hello and welcome to this week's video. A bit of recycling. It's an edited version of my latest live stream, cut down from 1 hour 37 minutes to about 12, but it does include all of the finishing, which wasn't shown in the live stream because, well, I've had to wait for the lacquer to dry. Hope you enjoy it.
And so here I have my usual blank. As you can see, it's mounted between centres. It's a little bit wobbly. I'm just truing up that face, and then off camera, or out of this edit I should say, I make a little tenon that I can grip in the chuck, and then reverse turn it so that the top is held in the chuck, and then I can get to work on shaping the bottom. So you can see I've got to that stage now, and still it was rather warped, this blank, so I did have to do a little bit of truing up. If you want to watch the full extent of that truing up, then the live stream video is still available on YouTube. Right, working on reducing bulk, getting a bit of a better balance, started to make the curve as you can see, and just giving some attention now to the foot. And as is usual with my platters or shallow bowls, I turn a recess. It's probably only about a couple of millimeters deep. It has a dovetail on it, and the Axminster C jaws grip very nicely in expansion mode there. So a little overview. Now you can see the shape beginning to go in, the OG shape, and the rim, you can see it looks like it's wobbling. That's because the rim isn't properly established yet. But the back is just about done. My usual routine of sanding to 240 grit, and then Chestnut Products cut and polish, which I rub liberally onto the back of the platter. And then it's a case of working that grit with a piece of cloth, increasing the speed, keeping the bit of paper moving. You can see I've left the middle unfinished. This is going to be a giveaway piece, so I'll be signing it and then putting some wax over that a little later on. So there's the tenon that I edited out being cut in the top. That was how it was held in the chuck. And now we're on to shaping the top. Rather a flat top for one of my platter rims, this one, but I wanted to have quite a wide rim. There is a sort of a rather shallow lead in to the bowl, which, if you're lucky enough to win this, you'll be able to see for yourself. So the wide rim, and that really lends itself to the paint technique that's coming later after the sanding. And again, that's my normal routine, down to 240, possibly 320 on this one. And then some sanding sealer. That's Chestnut Products acrylic sanding sealer. That only takes a few moments to dry, and then on comes the paint. Now this has to be done quickly, and when I do this at demos, I usually get the front row of the audience to shake my cans for me. On this occasion I had to shake my own. So blue first, then yellow, and you can see I'm just putting it on very quickly. It's a technique I saw in a few videos of street artists, and they use it to make space scenes, sort of like the different coloured textures of a planet or a moon. Really effective. And these colours are, although there's a little bit of editing here, they are going on straight after, one after the other, while they're still wet. And if there's one thing I'm not entirely happy about with what was finished, is that I would have liked to have had a bit more red showing, but you'll see that coming in a moment. I was stymied a little bit by the fact that I had a fan to help move the fumes out through the garage doors, and I was wearing a respirator for this, but it blows a little bit of newspaper I've got here, as you can see, onto the blank before I was really quite ready for it. This really is a ridiculously simple technique. You can see there a bit more of the paint came off, scrumpled up the paper, and I'm now just dabbing that around and lifting a little bit more paint off, getting a clean bit of paper there, because the paper quickly loads up with paint and you can end up with a rather sludgy mess. There are probably about 2/3 of this rim I love, but I think that little bit at the bottom, a bit too much yellow showing for me ideally. Well, the next stage of course is to get a bit of finish on that paint, and because it's rather lots of layers, it's not as super smooth as I would like it, but it has several coats of lacquer put on, And the voiceover can now give way to me speaking in real time.
Right, so I'm now going to turn to finishing off this giveaway piece that came from the live stream in July, on the 5th of July. It's had 6 or 7 coats of lacquer, car lacquer. I'm now going to use some paste compound to cut back that lacquer. It will go quite matte, but it will allow me to get a smoother finish because there are the layers of paint. It wasn't a flat surface to begin with, and this will improve that. So this is just a bit of Velcro back sponge. It goes on a little carrier here, which I will put into my little drill. And then it's just a case of getting some compound on here and a bit of water on here and protecting the lathe bed, which I'm working on because the cameras are set up here, with an old shower curtain. So I'm going to put a bit of water on the sponge, a little bit on the blank, which is still in the chuck, and then a bit of paste compound, and then on a low speed just work that around. So get a nice covering around the whole blank. Probably a little bit too much water, but just keep that moving across the surface. And keep going until the shine has gone, really. Right, I'm going to start bringing it back to a nice shine with some burnishing cream. A little bit more, quite a large area. And with the burnishing cream, I find it's actually better to buff it with safety cloth rather than kitchen roll. The reason for that is the kitchen roll sometimes snags and gets stuck in it if you're turning it too fast. But I've put it on with kitchen roll, so I'm going to chance it this time. I don't want to put a lot of pressure on. I just want to move it gently over the surface. If I put pressure on, then there is a chance it will snag a little, stick to it as it's drying, and I'll end up with bits of tissue paper to remove. Should be able to see a shine coming in the camera. You see the reflection of the paper. That's just about dry now. You don't get a lot of the reflection in the camera, but I'm seeing a lot here in real life as I'm standing next to the lathe. Seeing reflection not just of the tissue but of my hand as well. Okay, that's a much nicer shine than the shine that was there before. Right, so burnishing cream has done its job. Now we need to protect it, so I'm going to put some wax on. The wax I'm going to use is Microcrystalline Wax, which will take about 20 minutes before I can buff it, which will be enough time for me to correct the back and put some sanding of the rim where there's a little bit of overspray. Now you don't need to put much of this wax on, because the more you put on, the more you obviously have to remove. Just giving it a nice rub, making sure that I'm coating the whole of the rim. I haven't quite decided how big I'm going to make the opening yet, so I'll probably end up waxing more of it than I really need to. But it's better to do it that way round. This is 180 grit. It's going to put dust extraction on. Okay, so a bit of cut and polish going back on the back and also on the rim, which, because it's been sanded, is now looking paler than the back. The cut and polish does darken the wood a little. With a clean cloth. Okay, here we are then, ready to do the buffing. I'm going to do it under power with a little lamb's wool, probably synthetic, little buffing wheel on here. And like with sanding, keeping it moving. Okay. Now for turning the inside out, and then it's done. And here it is, all finished, signed, a little bit of wax put over there, his final little buff. But I'm really pleased with that, and I hope whoever wins it in the giveaway will be pleased with it. You'll have to stay tuned for details of that. I'll talk about it in my next live stream, which will be on Sunday the 19th of July. And there'll be information on my Facebook page and Instagram page as well for how you can get your name put in the draw to win this. Right, if you've got any questions or comments, please leave them below. I love getting them. I always do my best to answer them. And until next time, thanks for watching.